Great. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all on Zoom. In the room here, we have Mary Lee and myself from the board. Lindsay, Kip, is it Chris?
Chris, yes.
Chris from staff. And Beth. Yes. We have a guest from the housing. We'll meet later. Thank you for being here. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Anyone have any additions or changes to the agenda? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to approve it?
I move
Sound is,
for 2024 regular meeting agenda.
Thanks, Mary Lee. Stan, would you like to second?
Oh, no audio all of a sudden.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll second it, but Stan was starting to say he had trouble with the sound.
yeah, I can't hear. I mean, I can hear you, but faintly.
Okay, I'll speak up. Is that any better?
It seems like
No.
there's a delay or.
Can everyone else hear us okay?
Barely.
Barely.
I can hear okay.
Barely is what it is.
I could come closer.
Your sound is all the way up. And so I'm checking. It's connected to the meeting, all speaker. Is that any better? Nope.
While Kip is working, I'll just welcome those on Zoom. I'm so sorry. I only acknowledged the folks in the room. We have Diana Peck from the Library Foundation and Friends, Peg, Vicky, and Stan on the board via Zoom. Can you hear any of that?
I heard it.
You can hear it a little bit. Yeah.
That's as good as it's gonna
Okay.
get.
I'll just
What if he's not here?
Well,
Would
I'll
that,
just-
it does it help?
Yeah, I'll try to project. Means I have to move away from the PCs. Here, no, I'm kidding, I actually. It's better to be over here. Okay, is that any better? Okay, we'll just go with it. Vicky, thanks for the second. Any discussion on the agenda? If not, all in favor?
Hi.
I
Any opposed? Great. We're gonna move on to the approval of minutes. We have a handful. We have August 8th, the regular meeting minutes, September and the September 12th voucher meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. We do have one email correspondence from the Start Bus folks. Kip, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, they just acknowledge that they are extending the start on demand to the library through November 30th.
Great.
Not the best outcome yet, but it is a start.
A start.
it's better than nothing.
I wonder if we need to follow that with a remind, because I think they start their route revision process like now in December or January. And do we need to remind them that we would prefer to be, have this bus stop restored on the circulator route? Do we need to do that, or do you think we don't need to do that?
I think Anne is very aware, but it won't hurt me to just send her a reminder.
And, you know, I was thinking too, now that have got this Virginian development on our minds, that's probably going to improve our chances of getting that bus stop reinstated also, so.
I'll send her an email.
Okay.
Great, great, thank you. I don't see any members of the public, either on Zoom or in the room. But if we did have them, we would be happy to take comment. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda. And we have a report from Stella, who is away at a conference. Anything you want to highlight from that report, Kip?
I noticed that the balance sheet was not included for September, and I messaged Stella this morning asking if there was one prepared by the county yet, and I haven't heard back yet. So that's the one thing. We also, I guess I would highlight that we worked with the Department of Audit on getting our annual census report that we have to do on behalf of the board. Took a long time to sort of get the answer that we needed to do it once again this year. Abigail is still going to pursue whether or not the library should have its own EIN number, which is what sort of necessitates the need to do this.
I
But
thought she said we would still have to, you'd still have to do it even if you got rid of your EIN. And
But as part of the county, it would be done instead of us separately, I think, right?
we'll have to,
Yeah.
there were a number of factors, so.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
If there are any other specific questions about the budget or anything,
Can I,
I could take the questions and get.
great, this is not specific at all.
Okay,
I just need to be reminded. Just because I noticed that the space study and expenditures are coming out of the capital fund,
Yes.
capital reserve.
yes.
Can you just remind me how that accrues and how that works?
The library's capital reserve fund works differently than probably every other department in the county. The commissioners give us a lump sum amount that right now has been set at about $150,000 every year that we deposit into this account. And so the account grows in that way. And then instead of competing with other county departments for the other lump sum money that they set aside for capital every year, we don't have to compete for that. We can just plan to do the projects that we want to do as they come up.
And then if there is a project that exceeds the capital reserve fund, then we go to the commissioners and ask for
That's
special funding or something like that.
what I envision happening with the space planning. That we don't know what option we're gonna choose, what the cost will be, but there would be probably an ask of the commissioners, as well as an ask to the foundation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
great. Any other questions or comments about not only Stella's report, but any of the financial documents?
No,
Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda for October 10th, 2004.
Thanks, Vicky.
I'll second that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mary Lee. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Next up is a report from Beth, the Youth Programs Coordinator. Thanks for joining us, Beth.
All right, good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm gonna run through this pretty quickly. Most of the details are in here, so this is our report for this past summer reading, 2024, which started June 1st and ended August 4th. And, let's see here. No.
I think you have to sort of.
Oh. Sorry, it's a PDF and not a PowerPoint. Okay. So for a little background on how summer reading works, if you've never done it before, is everything is online now. We don't have any sign up well, you can sign up in person, but we help you sign up on the app, which is called Beanstack. And you can log your time on there. For every hour read, you get a virtual raffle ticket to put towards prizes. And for the kids, there's activities that they can also earn raffle tickets from. For high schoolers and adults, there are activities as well, but they earn bagel bucks, which are very popular. We award raffle prizes weekly, and then we also have in-person programming for all ages. How we get the word out to the public is we have lots of promotional things. We do a summer reading video that we have professionally made, and it gets distributed to the schools. And we also put that on social media and our website. We also give away free books for the kids. Each child that signs up can get a free book of their choosing. This year we gave away insulated bags as well that says, Bigfoot Summer Reading. He's sort of our unofficial mascot. The little Bigfoot, we've used him through several summer readings. And this year we also gave away stickers as well. And then we don't do print calendars so much anymore, but we do a big one for summer reading, and those are also distributed to the schools. So statistics and numbers, because we all love those. So we had another great year. So birth through middle school, which goes up to 8th grade, we had 846 kids registered, and they read for over 890,000 minutes. Here in Jackson, we had 768, and Alta had 78 registered. So to break that down further, birth through preschool, we have different summer reading challenges based on ages. The first is birth through preschool. Then we have elementary school. Then we have middle school. We have a high school specific program, and then we have a program just for adults. So for birth to preschool, we had 170 kids read for over 1,700 hours. And we had just over a 70% participation rate. So of those signed up, that is who read more than 1 minute. So kindergarten through 4th grade, I'll explain the sort of disparity in grades in a moment. We had 497 kids read for over 9,000 hours. In Jackson, it was 452, and in Alta, we had 45. So, do you want to ask the question now, or you want to wait?
I can.
Okay. I'm happy to take questions. So middle school, so the reason the grades look a little wonky is that it's 5th through 7th, but really they're the rising 6th through 8th graders. And so they are middle schoolers. Beanstack, so the middle school also subscribes to Beanstack for schools. And how Beanstack classifies students is that they are a 6th grader right up until the day before they start 7th grade. And so we started a tandem where they can tandem their accounts between their school Beanstack account and their public Beanstack account, or their public library one. And so we collect their grades, but the way we collect them is slightly different. And so this was how we could capture the same age range, but it looks different for the grades. And that's why it looks a little wonky.
We had 179 middle schoolers participate, 167 here in Jackson and 12 in Alta. And there was a 69% of participation. These are some of the events that we had for birth to fourth grade. And of course, these are available for all ages. We had a fun puppet show. We also had a puppet making workshop, which they could make their own puppets. We had an ice cream party at the end. The Raptor Center came. We had creepy crawlies where kids got to learn about bugs. And then we also had weekly crafts. Middle school, we had some events. It's hard to keep the attention of middle schoolers. But we had Teton Search and Rescue do a program, What's in Your Pack? We had an author writing workshop. And of course, they were also there for the creepy crawly bugs. Prizes, because everybody loves prizes. And as much as we would like to think that reading is its own prize, the kids are highly motivated. And as you can see from the picture, some of the prizes, it's easy to see why. Some of the things that we gave away are 3D printing pens, Squishmallows, which we've given away for several years and they continue to be popular. Lego sets, art kits, tumblers, gift cards for various places around town, and fair passes for the middle schoolers. And that was something that they requested. We gave out 146 raffle prizes, and that amounted to about 17% of the kids who had signed up received a prize. We also had, instead of taking, putting a raffle ticket in for one of the bigger prizes that they may not win, we also had the option of an instant prize where they could put it in to that on the computer and then come in and they could pick out a free book, or we had stickers and pencils available too, so that they would have something tangible. We gave away books. So we do a sort of a book fair every year, and they don't have to pay for anything. They get to choose up to one book. Anything extra that we have left over, we use for 20-minute reading prizes or the instant prizes that I mentioned. And then we also gave away books through Sproutmobile. And Sproutmobile is a partnership with Whole Food Rescue. And this is the 5th year that we've participated in that. New this year, though, was Storytime in the Park. Marissa came out and she read for 4 to 5 Wednesdays in conjunction with a Sproutmobile stop at Powderhorn Park. High school summer reading, we had 85 participants, which was a lot. You'll see we have sort of a comparison sheet later in the report, and you can see that that number basically doubled from last year. We had 74 here in Jackson and 11 in Alta, and we had a 67% participation rate. Adult reading continues to grow. It's amazing. This year we had 502 participants, 455 here in Jackson and 47 in Alta, and they submitted 173 book reviews. So here's the comparison sheet for the last 6 years. So 2019, you can see is pretty high. 2020 was pandemic year. And we had a different app that we used to keep track online. And we also still did paper. And so that's why those participation levels are so low for that year. But you can see here that the adult participation levels continue to just grow. And then the participation levels for the high schoolers are also great. The rest sort of fluctuate and we can't pin down why. So this is Beanstack. It's on the app. You can also sign in through your computer browser, and it's really easy to use. I think that's why we see participation continue to grow for adults. Too fast. So every year we do a survey after summer reading to participants. And this year, our numbers increased, so for things that project outcome measures, it's a national program that measures survey things for libraries, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I guess that's a good feeling.
In a nutshell. And so 86% learned something new from what they read or experienced, read more often, and enjoyed reading more. 100% want to use the library more often. And some of the feedback, it was really great. It encouraged my daughter to set goals and achieve them and to read more. Promoting reading to younger readers. I read a bunch every night and day anyway. And then it is funded with special thanks from the Chuck and Carolyn Miller Family Foundation and the Teton County Library Foundation and Friends. All right, is anybody has any questions?
I have a burning question.
Awesome.
Who is little Bigfoot?
Little Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean, like, where?
So he's actually big Bigfoot. If you come over to the youth services side after the meeting, we have like an 8-foot Bigfoot stand up in our wing. And he's sort of, we've used him in various instances through summer reading. And so he's become sort of our unofficial mascot.
So you just created him?
Yeah, one of our previous graphic designers, he used in graphics that we used many years ago, and then we've just continued to update him through the years. And one of the activities that we had the kids do is we had them pick up, we have a moosicorn, a jackalope, and our Bigfoot, so our Teton mythical creatures. And they could take it with them or send it to a relative and have them take pictures in the wild. And so we got pictures from all over the country and actually the world. We had somebody take it to New Zealand and sent us pictures. And so that was really awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe he was like a literary figure that
No.
I wasn't aware of.
No. No copyright or trademark infringement.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Great, Beth, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really great work. I appreciate it.
And thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Stan.
I was curious if you had any thoughts on why looked like on your graphs, the last 2 years, the middle grade and younger, the participation dropped a little bit.
Yes, so it fluctuates a lot and we don't know why, if they're traveling, if they just don't want to read or they just don't want to participate. Sometimes that's the reason. They continue to read, but they're at the age where they don't want to do it. We don't know why, and that's why we always like feedback from the parents. And usually we get the feedback from the people who do participate instead of the people that don't participate. And so, yeah, we don't know why. We've asked the middle school librarian, we try to poll our middle schoolers that come into the library, but those are the ones that are already participating and are engaged. And so it's really hard to capture those that might possibly, but we just can't reach them.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, no, it's a good question and one that we always ask on how we can get more participation from that age group. We were really pleased with the high schooler participation rate this year. That was really great. And we have a team coordinator. We had one that was for a year and then Matt started 6 months ago. And so he's actively working on engaging both the middle schoolers and high schoolers through programming and school visits as well. And so we hope to see some higher numbers next year because of those efforts from him.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Do you want to jump ahead to Christy so she doesn't? have to
Yes, I didn't know
stay
if that was an
forever?
option. That's a great idea. Just look here, Christy, thank you for joining us. And trying to find where it is on the, oh, yeah. We'll just jump ahead if you want to share the information that you brought.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I am wondering why Warner Brothers messed up our plans.
We'll get there later.
Okay, thank you.
I was also wondering that. I'm Christy Malone. I'm from the housing department. Thank you guys for having me today. I really just wanted to make myself available to you all in regards to the 90 Virginia Lane development. So I didn't really plan anything like a presentation, but just kind of am curious to know, what questions you have, what information you might be looking for, any feedback that you want to share with us now. So kind of whatever suits the group.
Did folks have a chance to read the article in the weekly? Yesterday? I guess I'm just curious if you'd remind us of the timeline.
Yeah, of
of
course.
construction and stuff.
Yep, yeah, and just to back up a little bit, just to give it some context here
Yeah.
too. So the land was purchased by the Housing Authority Board August 1 of 2023. So it's been, well over a year. We spent a few months working with different county and town departments, working with the elected officials to put a request for proposals together to find a development partner to work with us. And that RFP went out in November of last year. February of this year, we ended up getting 11 responses, so a really great interest rate. Went through all of those. There was a big scoring and vetting process, landed on one top contender who we now are working with. They're Penrose, and they are interested in getting a ground lease. That's what we worked on with the joint town and county electeds. Most recently is what are the terms of that ground lease, so that would give them some site control moving forward, working on things like financing on their end. There also will be a development agreement. That's more of the details of like, what are we expecting from this developer and what are they expecting from us? So that is scheduled for November and December for the electeds to discuss. So still working on that. We got a draft transportation impact study back recently that hasn't been available to the public yet, because it's still a draft form, but that's coming up. And then also working on a market study right now. So that's really going to tell us for this site, for kind of the unit types, the unit mix, what are people looking for, kind of what affordability ranges, what sizes for its bedrooms, things like that. So we are gathering some more information. Another sort of the next really big step is going through the planning process with the town. So we are doing a development option plan. It's an administrative review, so it'll be the planning director that makes a decision on that one. But it does circulate to all of the town departments. So we get feedback from, engineering and public works, building department, planners, making sure Parks and Rec, making sure everybody gets time for that. So that will actually probably be the first iteration where we have something that's really dialed down. You can say, okay, I can kind of see what we're working on here. So happy to accept and embrace any feedback that anyone has at any time. I know, Kip, we met with you, that was last year now, kind of thinking about like, I know parking is a big concern, not wanting overflow over here, making sure that what happens over there doesn't interrupt with any functions over here. So yeah.
Okay, and what was the date for that town planning process? Or when the different departments would have input?
I'm expecting it will be end of this year, early next year.
Okay.
So the piece that I'm missing, I attended what was the meeting on Monday? It was to come up with the ground lease.
Yep, the grounds.
And I'm really glad I attended. It was great. I really learned a lot.
Okay.
And really excited about the development. What I'm missing is when the design When does that happen? I mean, I personally, as a board member, I have concerns about the impact on Virginia Lane. It seems like there's been a lot of attention on Snow King. And so how do we communicate if we decide as a board that we have concerns? What's that process look like? Like, when could we comment that it could potentially have impact on the design?
Yeah, and I think it's, this is an iterative process, so right now, and as part of the RFP process, so the proposals that we received. Did include some conceptual renderings. Those have been negotiated a little bit just on things that we wanted to see, things that were of interest to the community that, some of your electeds brought up. Like maximizing open space, making sure that kind of parking's tucked away, it's not a huge feature of the site, but is readily available. So it has evolved a little bit already. We do have a conceptual site plan and then kind of some 3D scaled renderings. So they don't have exterior materials or anything like that. They're kind of like the white box look. But that's something we certainly could share with you guys now, just to say this is what we have.
Would that be different than what was published in the newspaper? 2 weeks ago. Here, I'll share with you. I brought copies. This was. Let's see.
Yeah, so this one is the rendering that came out of their initial proposal. So this is what they originally submitted. So things that have changed here. The biggest one really is moving this central parking corridor over to structured parking over here. So I think that's kind of the biggest change that you'll see. There was a little bit of movement of these buildings, kind of lining these things up to allow for some flow of traffic through the site. So that people can access the homes over here. But I would say this is pretty close to what we have now. It has evolved a little bit. And then we do have what I think are interesting. The architect provided some like scaled, like more human scale, like if you were on the site, what it would feel like. So I could send you guys just comprehensively what we have so far. And then if you have any feedback or comments now, we would love to hear it. And like I said, this is, it's very much the conceptual stage. We haven't even completely nailed down the total number of units that are, being proposed here. So things could change. But certainly if you have concerns about anything at this point, we would love to hear it.
So, like a letter would be appropriate, or would we invite someone to come to a special meeting to educate us, or all of the above, or?
Yeah, I think it's totally your preference. I mean, you guys are not only neighbors, but colleagues of ours. So I think whatever it is that you're looking for, we're happy to be accommodating. If you wanted to send something, more formal in writing, that's great. If you wanted even to, get together and put like an email and send it to, the housing director, April, and me, we can do that too, or have more of a structured workshop with you guys if you wanted us to come back with prepared materials. You could do that as well.
It's hard to comment when you don't, fully, completely understand it. We're not in the business of looking at building design, development design. So it's just curious about that. But would you say the sooner we give input, the better?
Yeah, I think this is an iterative process. It's evolving, of course. But in that evolution, it's there is the opportunity to address concerns early on. I think that's the best option. As things become more concrete, especially like the development agreement, once we have a development option plan application that says like, okay, this is it, this is what we want this to look like. I mean, of course, we'll still have to come back in for building permits and grading and kind of all the physical construction components. Those have to be permitted as well. But I would say if you're looking for something specific, it's going to be the development option plan. However, at that point, it will be that, these things have been pretty fleshed out, so it'll be harder to make changes. So I think the sooner the better. And you know, if it is something that you guys wanna give me a list of these are things we wanna walk through the renderings, or, you know, we wanna talk about traffic or parking or specific issues. We certainly could come back to another one of your meetings or a special meeting and have a little workshop just to talk through things.
I think the rendering with the people that you said would be really helpful. I think there was just a question about having 4-story buildings along Virginia
Yeah.
Lane. Are some of the new developments like over by the brew pub, are those technically 4 stories? I looked the other day and it was like, sort of like, to me, like 3.5.
It is, yeah.
And
It is, yeah, so
Okay.
it's daylit, basement, so they're, you know, subgrade, but they do have, you know, windows, some of them that are actually above grade, some of them are window wells
Yeah.
as well, so it's not quite a full 4 stories.
Okay,
It's partially subgrade,
okay.
um,
So 4 stories for this development would be slightly taller than those.
How about the building that's across from the Center for the Arts on Glenwood? It's a private development, but do you know, like, you know, where the orange, whatever it's called? orange
Near the
that-
Marriott?
Arts
Yeah,
District,
yeah.
Next to the parking garage and across from.
Alright, well, basically.
Yeah, is
I
that
think-
4 stories?
no, I think that's 3.
It's 3 stories, and then the 4th floor is under the building code at the time, I think it's not technically a story, and it's set back.
Yeah.
So the
yeah.
3rd floor residential units have a 2nd floor lofts but they're set back, so they're not flush with the rest of the building on the sidewalk.
Okay, here's another question. How about the one by Staples?
That's 4 stories,
That's what's right.
yep.
The Spring Hill Suites near that same development is a 4-story building as well, but the 4th floor is private condos that are set
Yeah.
back from the building. So it's,
And that's a big comment we've gotten here already is, because right now it's proposed 3 up to this corner and then a 4-story on Virginia, and then the 4th-story larger apartment building kind of in the middle of the site. And that's a pretty consistent comment we've gotten so far is what's the ability to step back that 4th story so that the street feel is more like 3.
one of the issues we deal with already out here is parking on Virginia we'll have RVs and boats that will stay in the 72 hours. It's, with residential housing here, is there an opportunity to look at least from our parking lot to the corner, having Virginia as timed parking like downtown? And we did investigate the town bylaws on ordinances that currently don't allow for timed parking outside the core. But we would, the potential of losing all the street parking is very real residential here, so that's.
Yeah,
something-
yeah, that's a great comment. You know, we are parking for residents on site, but as you know, we're providing some visitor parking, some kind of flex parking, but as you know, people always have extra things or people coming over, or, you know, maybe I got 1 space in my apartment, but I have 2, you know, people working there or living there. So totally understandable that I think to expect overflow. And the street being, you know, a public amenity, it is a little bit of, I think an interdepartmental question of, you know, like, it's not technically the housing authority board's parking to manage, but how can we work with, you know, our colleagues to see if that's something we can address? So that's a good question.
And along that line, there was another thing that confused me that I was from the meeting on Monday. They referred to a traffic study that has been done, but didn't indicate there would be significant impacts. And then there was a question about access to the development from the Start Bus Street over there, like this. And what's the name of that street? Carnes. And they said it didn't seem like it would be needed, but it kind of feels like from sitting here in this position I'm in, that that Carnes access would be very beneficial to the library. if, you know, that would, anyway.
Yeah,
So I was curious about that.
Yep, yeah, and I'm not a traffic engineer either. My background is in land use, but not specifically transportation. So that surprised me as well. I know, you know, I work 8 to 5 and I live in Cottonwood and I work over there. So anytime I drive, I'm in the Snow King line at, you know, 5 o'clock when that does happen in the summer. So, understand that, you know, is a thing. And it surprised me that the Kearns Meadow wasn't as big of an impact as we thought it was going to be. But that's what the numbers are telling us. I mean, it didn't say it was gonna be zero impact, it just, you know, it's kind of maybe negligible. There also are some federal issues on that site, that are a little bit difficult and out of our scope of where we usually work, just because it is, transportation site that receive federal funding, so there's some security protocols that have to be there. So that's the other big obstacle, and really why we wanted to include that in the traffic study is say, is this really worth it? So I wouldn't say that there's been any final decision on whether that access point will go forward or not. I think it would be great just to have another option, some kind of redundancy on the site for people to use. But it's kind of we'll wait and see. We have the data now. We can have a little bit more information to look at that closer.
Because, and didn't they say there will be another traffic study done going forward, like?
No, the traffic study that was completed is in draft form, so it's now going through town and county departments for them to look at. And Charlotte Fry, who works in the same building as us, we get to see her frequently, and had a look at it, and so she's kind of tweaking it and asking questions. And we have a supply board member that has some history in that area as well, so she's looking at it. So it will be publicly available for people to review. It is pretty data heavy. That's something else that we're looking at is there a way to kind of make this more translatable to folks? So you don't have to look at, you know, 40 pages of charts and numbers. But it will be available. It's just getting refined right now, and you can actually, you know, have a direct comparison of what those increases will be. They did find no change in the overall rating of the intersections. So they're ranked from A to F based on how much time you spent at an intersection. They found that level of service wouldn't change. It's more likely to be impacts, you know, in the next 20 years, just general growth, more people working here, more people using these roads rather than people that are actually living adjacent to these roads. So that was interesting as well.
One more, like,
And Vicky has a question. too.
okay. The traffic study, does it, are there percentage value judgments, projections made on who's going to be traveling on foot, bike, car, public transportation? They're assuming some things about the people who live here and how they're going to get to work and that sort of.
Yes, exactly. So national standards were used for average daily trips for the number of units. And just based on what they are, based on them being apartments or condos. So that was a starting point, and there was a 6% reduction because of the access to START, because of the access to the bike pathways, having bike paths on the street, having sidewalks on the street, all those things. So there was a slight reduction in average daily trips, assuming that people living in that location are you know, a certain number of them are going to be using those amenities. And then it subtracted out the RV use right now. So we're really looking at what's the difference. So if we're taking away, we don't have these people coming and going in their RVs anymore. What's the impact holistically between existing and proposed land use? Another component which was really interesting to me is recently adopted transportation standards for the town require a mitigation of 60% of your traffic increase above 30 trips. So the developers will have to incorporate, there's a long list of different things you can do. Whether it's, you know, people that work at the village get a free bus pass, or your providing a bike share, or you're providing, a car share, or something like that, where you're reducing the number of cars on the road. That is required too, and so that kind of is a remains to be seen how we're going to achieve that, but we do know that it's a requirement. Which I think it's a big hurdle for any developer, but for me, I kind of felt like, well, this is a relief. We have this standard that everyone has to follow, and we can follow that and kind of pick from the menu of items that we think are appropriate for that site to reduce the traffic as well, so.
Great, thanks. Thank you. So, Peg, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a couple things. Thank you, Christy, for your time, and can you hear me okay, everybody? Okay, great. And thank you, Marilee, for bringing this up. I think it's the appropriate time. I am fairly familiar with the project, and I did listen in on the gym meeting. I really appreciate that the best way that's transparent to move forward. I love this idea, Christy, of having a workshop with the board and actually, kind of going through line item by line item. The traffic study was really interesting to me. I had never seen the word roundabout before at this intersection. I don't think it physically fits. There's some little things that feel like if we don't get on top of it, we're not going to be heard as a board. And so maybe we can work with Abigail on what's the appropriate format, but I do think a board workshop would be pretty ideal. So thank you for that offer. Maybe we can figure out how that looks. That's all I have for now.
Thanks, Peg. Vicky, did you have a question?
She's on.
Okay, if you're speaking, Vicky. Oh,
My question was answered. Thanks.
okay, great. Anybody else have questions for Christy while we have her? Did you get yours
Yeah.
answered?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course, we'd love to come back.
Okay.
And if you wanna kind of send me what you're thinking, if you are looking for, a presentation, we can put stuff up on the big screen. Kind of walk through, I mean, I'm definitely hearing, fourth story, kind of street feel, street experience, traffic, parking, those things, so we can make those, points of focus to discuss more. But yeah, if you wanna, maybe can get a hold of me for scheduling and you wanna put something together.
That sounds great.
Okay.
And just speaking personally, I think Mary Lee also said she's enthusiastic and supportive personally, not speaking for the board, I really am too. So we want to be good partners. And I think we'll figure out as a board to speak with one voice, but personally, I just hope it continues to go well.
Yes, yeah, us too. That's what, we don't wanna lose the excitement. I know it's, it sometimes gets into the details where, we're pulling things apart, putting them back together, and sometimes it's easy to lose the momentum and the excitement of it. This is gonna be a really great piece of this neighborhood. And, there also is some community space we wanna integrate in there. So it's designed right now just for the residents, but something else, to talk to you all about, as you're, considering some changes that may happen over here, is how could that potentially be complementary? So that's something else we would love to hear from you.
I foresee a great symbiotic relationship between people, the community there and the library. I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, anyone there is very lucky to have the library as a neighbor, so. They're excited.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so Kip, are we
Yes.
moving to your report?
I will make it brief.
Just take
The, I will get in trouble for saying it, but once again, we are fully staffed.
Great.
Every time I say that, we then get a resignation or two. But at the moment, we filled the 3 positions that were open in the circulation department, 1 full-time and 2 part-time, and everybody's in training right now and going well. The other piece, the architects were here on site just last week,
Yeah.
for community open house. I think it went very well. They got a lot of input. I know several of you were all present at some point to talk with them. They got surprisingly a lot of input from teens,
That's what they said.
which
Yeah.
was very surprising.
It's great though.
We
They're
did-
very opinionated.
Some of them did get free coffee drink coupons, but bribery, as Beth pointed out, is sometimes what you need to do. This community survey closed on Sunday. I shipped off all the data to the architects yesterday. And they reminded me this morning that we may have paper surveys, so I need to check into that and see if we have those. But I'll get them that data as well. And they are going to start doing the fun piece, coming up with some options to present to the board.
In November.
In November.
That's like,
That's
wow, yeah.
They've been working behind the scenes all along, but it should be pretty exciting, I think. So,
And are they, if when the library chooses an option, are they then also the architect for
No.
that? No, this is
No.
just a study
It's just,
and,
I mean,
and
it's,
proposals.
it could be likely that
would-
they end up being the architect.
Okay, but that's
Yeah,
another
that would be another
request. Okay,
process to go through,
great.
another RFP, I guess.
So will they plan to present to us, or is that just something you'll have and you'll share with us?
They will
in-
present, they'll be on the agenda.
Okay,
I believe they're gonna zoom in, so it will be a Zoom presentation.
okay.
The other piece that I didn't include in my report, just because it's kind of a long, and I'm not sure how I would write it, would be the Harry Potter situation. I guess I would just invite questions, because you've all been provided much of the background, the press release that went out. And thankfully Abigail is here to help in the legal piece of that. But if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those. I guess for people who watching this may not know, the library received a cease and desist order from an attorney, from a law firm representing Warner Brothers, asking us to either de-theme our Harry Potter programs or cancel them. And given the timeline, what the kids were expecting to experience, it was determined that de-theming it really wasn't going to work. So we chose to cancel. Beth and the youth services team will go to work and try to develop something else that will be fun and beloved and within copyright law parameters.
Haven't we been doing these events for like 20 years?
We've been doing the Harry Potter events for 8 years. I believe this would have been the 8th year.
Because my kids were coming to Harry Potter events, and that's a long, that was a long time ago, so I'm curious. Yeah.
At one point in time, libraries were encouraged to
Yeah.
do Harry Potter events, celebrate the books.
Sell the books.
Things have changed. Who owns the copyright has changed. So it's
Just an
up to the
event
owner.
around a series of books is a copyright infringement.
I'll let you talk about fair use because you have a better.
So legal protections under the Copyright Act and common law, using someone else's creative work is copyright infringement unless you fall within one of the exceptions. And the biggest exception that applies across the board for schools, especially for schools and libraries and whatnot, is called fair use, the fair use doctrine. The fair use doctrine has 4 factors that go into the analysis about whether or not your use of the creative materials falls within, you know, the protections of that doctrine. They are, first factor, purpose, so your purpose, the purpose you're using their work for. The second factor is the three factors all focus on the works you're using. So the first one is the amount, you know, is it a sentence, a paragraph, one character? The third factor is the nature of the work you're using, whether it's published or unpublished, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Those types of things. And then actually, here, I brought, and then, nature, so purpose, amount, nature, and effect, the effect of your use of the copyrighted material on the copyright protections and the policies behind copyright law and copyright protections all play a role. The case law and whatnot, it's very fact specific. It's really difficult to predict. So actually I brought this, so this is actually, and this is one of the things I went over on the phone with about how this event, you know, plays into that. Super, you know, quick and dirty, but this is the fair use checklist that Columbia University gives out. So you can see each of the factors, more specific detail based on a lot of the case law on whether it's fair use or not fair use. It's not a mathematical formula or bright line. So if you if you have 2 checks in purpose and 1 check in whatever, it's very fact specific. And the more I sort of looked at things, adult trivia, you know, we're using all of it. We're not just using Harry Potter to like write an essay on comparing Harry Potter to Tolkien or whatever. I mean, it really is a celebration of the Harry Potter books. And yes, with that educational aspect of encouraging kids and celebrating kids reading. But if you really look at this and think about the event, it starts to look right. Like it's not. Now, the other thing that sort of I was thinking about, well, what are their damages, right? Actual damages, not much, but under the copyright law, there's statutory damages. Doesn't matter. In certain circumstances, they don't have to even prove up damages. It's just a statutory fine using someone else's protected work. Also, litigation costs and attorney's fees. So, you know, looking at all that. Now, in terms of if you research on the internet, you see them shutting down these types of events. There used to be a huge Harry Potter festival in Chestnut Hill, Philadelphia, and all over. They got shut down years ago. They shut down, you know, bars and shopping centers that would have Harry Potter events. But you could see in those cases, they're clearly using Harry Potter to make money, right?
Commercial
Which,
activities,
you know,
which not
commercial
take from
activities,
these.
which this is not. But that's, you know, it's just an example. But here's the other thing, and this, based on my research and some phone calls I made, from my discussions with the attorney for the Warner Brothers, who I talked to at least, what, 3 times. And then I also reached out to a few other sources, including someone at Scholastic who publishes the books, who was, as a courtesy, sort of talked to me. And this is speculation, but I think part of it is they've always done this, right? Where it's just a question of if they have people looking for people using Harry Potter or Mickey Mouse or whatever in the arena. All of a sudden you get busted with it, right? Like, and honestly, I feel like the Buckrail article might have like gotten flagged and I don't know. But here's the other thing that's been happening. Copyright protects like Harry Potter that was created in the books, but the copyright extends to then when it becomes a movie. And then it becomes a video game, and then it becomes now theme parks, right? So instead of just a book or the movie, the characters are protected and all that, but those are each considered works. So a book is a work, or a theme park is a work, or the use of the work. And Harry Potter is now extended into these theme parks where you can go drink butterbeer and experience Diagon Alley and all of these things. And the lawyer for Warner Brothers actually, she kept talking about the theme parks and events. Right, so it sort of expanded, and then I'd heard.
How
I
does
had
that,
seen
how does
this.
the fact that that has expanded affect our events?
Here, let's look at the factors real quick, and then the other
Because I'm
thing
sure
someone
people
told
benefit
me,
from all of those, that's like,
right,
that's
but part of copyright is to not. They're also doing pop-up events, I heard, so they've done one in Philly, they've done one in New York, and that's like Warner Brothers licenses to Universal, I think. Where you can go, maybe they have it for, I don't know, a month or two, you know,
There's one in
and
Boston.
right, and I don't know how long they last, but you go and can experience. So a huge part of copyright protection is to avoid confusion or diminishing the value. So all of a sudden, our event, and this is pure speculation on my part, starts to look like those. And it could be misinterpreted as being, you know, their event when it's not. So, you know, if you look at the factor on effect, you know. Let's see. In effect, no similar product marketed by the copyright holder. Well, all of a sudden, they're doing a similar product, right? And so I think the product is these events. And Warner Brothers has, definitely has the copyright. What they have the copyright on and what they don't, I couldn't get a clear answer on, but they definitely have, on the, like, the names and the characters, but then she said they have broader rights than that. The other person told me that they have rights in promotion, so anything promoting Harry Potter and events. So, I don't know if there might be a path forward, you know, maybe with Warner Brothers cooperation, if you could even get a hold of the right person. To more narrowly tailor an event. But I also know they're pretty aggressive.
they're
Right?
clearly
And
muggles.
so, and even, yeah, well, when you read the articles about them shutting stuff down years ago, even, you see lots of stuff from the fans calling them the mentors and all them out in my heads. And whatnot, so, yeah, so that's kind of possible.
Just kind of yes or no
Yeah.
answer. Could the library modify the event to escape?
I wouldn't know on
What?
such short notice. I just wasn't willing to advise that. The only thing we talked about was really deep, just de-theming. And, you know, when I tried to get a little bit of guidance from the lawyer, maybe that's not her job. This is all her firm does. All they do, they're outside counsel, they're not inside. All they do is whatever their clients, I'm sure they have other clients, Disney or whoever, is, you know, send the letters and then if they need to litigate. And so she's like, I don't know who you go to ask for permission, or all I know is you're using copyrighted protected materials. You don't have permission, you have to stop.
And so is another option that the library would contact Warner Brothers and say, this is what we've done for 8 years. What would it cost us? Or
Right.
could you?
Or is there a way we
Is
can
that
do
us?
this in a
Because
way
we're a library,
that you can
it's
get
free.
permission, right?
Promotes reading, these are
Right.
kids
And maybe that's possible, especially
for next year.
just off the top of my head, maybe, you know, if there wasn't an adult event. The lawyer is not analyzing like
Sure.
our events. All she knows is we've got a website and it says the word Harry Potter, it's pictures of Harry Potter, the Wizarding World is protected. You know, the event has Diagon Alley, she said, no Diagon Alley, no butterbeer, no any of these things.
There was,
They have
it
no
may have
idea.
been the Philadelphia one, but there was. That they got shut down, they were told they needed to have. The
Permission,
rights,
yeah.
permission from Warner Brothers, and. So the person asked, how do I get that? And they said, well, you could ask, but they're not giving out,
Yeah.
they won't give out, they don't.
They don't give
They don't
permission.
give
Has no
permission.
permission, but they'll be.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, the letter is you don't have permission to use this, and it's actually so far as to even after we canceled. she said it's still on your website. And I'm like, well, how do we tell people it's canceled unless we still have it on the website canceled? But it's a copyright infringement to have it up, just to have.
So you know that event we were going to have this weekend, it's canceled.
Yes.
The event that shall not be named.
Well, I had told her, I said, like, the first event was supposed to be this Saturday. I said, I'd like to leave it up till the end of the week. And I got a sort of, well, kind of, okay, I guess that's okay. It was okay, but it wasn't as affirmative as I would have liked, which is why, you know, we felt like word had gotten around enough that it's already down.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
was
on the
written yesterday.
I know you circulated the letter. Has it been in the newspaper?
Paper did a
Did
story
it? I
Yeah.
missed it.
at some point recently.
I saw that it was here.
NPR picked it up.
So we've had a few inquiries.
KHL called yesterday.
Yeah, so the News and Guide did an article right away, so, you know, with the press release.
It's in the American Library's newsletter I sent yesterday.
And, then there've been inquiries where there's probably gonna be something local from like KHOL, and there might be something actually on, you know, NPR's from. Like NPR and NPR, not Wyoming. So, and, you know, it is what it is. It's unfortunate if you read and you know, look, the intention of the fair use is sort of like a teacher using it for teaching, research, you know, criticism, comment, well, here's the other exception, parody. So news reporting, and, you know, if you really look at these, and there's some sites you go to if you want to see. I did a memo on, we were trying to do this really, we had 5 days, and of course it came in Thursday, and then I was out Friday, Kip was then, you know, we had to act fast. I did do sort of a memo that summarized the research I had done, which also represents the discussions Kip and Beth and I had on the phone, mostly Kip and I, so I can, it's probably gonna be privileged because it actually has an analysis. I can, you know, send it to you. And then I'm trying to neutralize it, so maybe it could be a guide for the future, so.
But thank you
Yeah.
on very short notice, both of you, just for
Yeah.
navigating the
You
whole
know,
thing.
it's a press release, which it's unfortunate, and it's, yes, people are disappointed, but
If
you know,
there's something,
copyright protection protects the little guys as much as the big guys. So if it's gonna protect people, it's gotta protect everyone equally. You know, and I know it's very easy to have that guttural, visceral reaction when it's a big corporation. But, you know, so.
Look at their faces. I'm just,
Yeah.
okay, it's fine. We should move
I
on.
mean, Warner Brothers is doing what they have a right to do.
Yep.
What I think a path forward would be is to advocate to them. How can you work with libraries and museums and
Yeah.
nonprofits, and not just make us the good guy and them the bad guy, but how can libraries work with Warner Brothers?
Yeah. Have the
We've
biggest impact on my
Celebrate.
children's love
Me too.
of reading than
Right.
any other thing. And
Yeah.
so
and-
that's kind of sad.
And also,
It's sad.
I mean, and I think a good argument could be made, you know, they get hooked on these books and then, yeah, they want to go
They have the video game.
to the
They wanna go to
amusement
the-
park, they want the movies. I mean, it's practically free advertising for Warner Brothers. I mean, I know my family has spent a lot in celebrating these books. Anyway, okay. Unfortunate, but really appreciate that it's still on the table and that maybe there's something that can be done for next year. Kip, anything else? Thanks so much for your report.
If you have any questions,
Any questions for Kip? Diana, thanks for joining us. You're up if you'd like to share anything about what's happening with Foundation and Friends.
Thank you, Lisa. I have a very brief, just since we all last met, we've had the Old Bills Fun Run, and just wanted to say thank you to all of the members of the library board, the staff, and our Foundation and Friends board who showed up in great support, great numbers to reach out to the community. We did quite a few postcards to reach out prior to the event. We had the rush hour rally at the library, and it was our most well-attended since I started. This is my third Old Bills with the library, and it was the most well-attended of our rush hour rallies so far. So we just love the growing enthusiasm. The donations are rolling in. We will know probably mid next week what our total ends up being for the Foundation and Friends. And for sure, the final numbers will be out by October 23rd when the Community Foundation hosts the annual, the Giving Day for Old Bills. And then our library benefit. So we're deep into fundraising season right now. Our library benefit date has been set for Friday, December the 13th. And our theme this year is Outlaws and Illusions. So you'll see a save the date come out most likely mid to late next week. And so our theme is going to rely on kind of an elegant Old West theme with a slightly mysterious vibe to it, with the whole outlaws and the masked men. So anyway, we hope you all participate. We're really excited about our fundraising season, and we look forward to seeing the outcome of all our work in the next couple months.
Diana, when do tickets go on sale?
We anticipate having tickets on sale about a month in advance, so look for those about November 13-ish.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Diana? Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, thanks for being so patient with us.
Oh, no worries. This is,
I think you're up. Are we gonna talk about security cameras and access control systems?
yes, so yeah, I'm sitting in for Rick, who's not here today, and he prepared 2 staff reports. The first one is for an upgrade to the library security camera system, which, to say it's antiquated would be a minimum to critique that. We have a proposal from Mountain Alarm for an amount of $17,603.19 to replace our current system with a cloud web-based system, which will not only give us additional security cameras in some area, it will kind of expand what we're able to monitor. And this is all exterior cameras, nothing inside the library. And it will also give us much easier access when we do at times need to look back at security footage. We'll be adding 2 additional cameras on Virginia Lane here. We did have an incident a while ago where there was a hit and run fender bender, and Jackson Police came to us to look for some footage, and we did find footage of the car coming down Virginia Lane here, but that's all we had. The accident was in the front side of the library, so we couldn't provide any other info. So this will greatly improve our security camera system and improve the ease that we have to access footage. And yeah, like I said, the total amount is $17,603. And the annual service fee to maintain this will be $3,288, billed monthly at $274.
So right now, it looks like the fiscal impact, maybe this is a typo. It says it's invoiced monthly at $1,765.
We just noticed that before we
Okay.
That's
started,
the
so that's,
annual
yeah.
cost.
Got it.
yeah, so let's just go by,
So is it the 3,288 is the annual?
yes.
Got it.
And that's the maintenance after the one-time purchase of 17,600.
Yes,
So the total expenditure this year would be 20,891.
It would be prorated to whenever it's installed. I don't know what the installation timeline would be, but then it would be until June 30th
So
for this year.
should the motion include the annual fee, or is it really just a motion for
It's
the?
motion for the capital.
Yeah, so 17,000, did you say 17,600?
603.19.
And 19?
Yes.
Do you want to make the motion?
I'll make it.
Any questions from Peg?
Yeah, really quickly, can you hear me okay? Sorry, I thought there was something, and maybe I'm incorrect here. Wasn't there something last month that we approved or the month prior about security cameras, or do I have some confusion here?
Didn't do anything in September, August.
I thought it was
Wasn't-
the August meeting or some kind, and maybe I'm confused.
I know we approved a capital project in August, but I don't remember what it was. Hang on.
I don't remember either, but
I thought there were two capital expenditure things that we approved, and I thought one had to do with a security camera. Again, I could be off. I'm happy to move forward, but I just want to double check that when I have a chance. Or if you've got it there, Kip, that would be great.
Give me 1 second. August was staff office chairs. And the building automation upgrade.
Okay, oh, maybe I have it wrong. Okay, I'll take a look. If there's anything I find that's strange, I will bring it up to you guys. I don't know why I recall this. And no
What's
one
that?
else recalls it. I could be crazy.
The building automation upgrade was the long HVAC.
Yes, upgrading the controls for the library heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system. And that was with Long Building Technologies is the contractor for that.
Okay, sorry for any confusion.
no, I mean, I vaguely remember. Yeah, it's a good question. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
I so move that the board authorize an expenditure of $17,603.19 from capital reserve funds for the 2 security camera upgrades as presented in the staff reports.
Thanks, Mary Lee. Do I have a second?
Can I modify?
Second,
We're not doing Alta today, so we're only doing one project.
Oh,
Yeah, this is just for the Jackson branch.
so is that less money?
No,
No,
That was the Jackson.
that is
yeah,
just the
just
Jackson.
her motion included what I had written that we've withdrawn Alta at this time.
Got it. Okay. Does she need to say it again?
That wasn't in the motion, so.
Is there just one security camera upgrade then?
One security camera. It's just Jackson. But
Peg. Okay, Peg, do you have another question?
I don't, sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. Okay, do I have a second to Mary Lee's motion about the one security camera? I will second it. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Bye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay, let's talk about the access control system.
Okay, this is a project, same contractor, but it's a different scope. And this is to upgrade and expand the building access control systems. So right now, we don't really have a global control on door keypads and door security throughout the library. This project will give us that control. We will upgrade staff entrance doors, patron entrance doors as well. And this project will, let's see. it's just, like I said, it's the same contractor that is doing the security cameras, which, Rick and I both feel and might agree that's nice that we have, these systems all with one contractor. We're not piecemealing things out, so that simplifies and streamlines stuff on our end. The total cost for this project will be $31,939.70. This also has an annual service fee. Annually will be $1,765 billed monthly. And like I said, this will upgrade some of our existing doors that we don't have great control over. It's a global system. All the employees will end up with a new PIN number, so we'll be able to monitor who's coming in the building and when. And we'll also be able to make changes to if there's any library scheduling changes and doors.
Your doors will automatically lock. If there was an emergency, we'd be able to lock, grab the doors automatically. It'll also improve access for after hours use of this room. We'll be able to better accommodate morning meetings, things like that. So it will come with improvements.
Yeah, I did have a little question. So it is this kind of security, like, are there library protocols or something, or public building protocols, or is it just like, I don't know, like, why do we feel like it's important to have this kind of security?
Because it's 2024. I mean, a lot of it is when we've done active shooter trainings, other safety trainings, there are a lot of doors in the building that we don't have control over. So like the staff kitchen door is often just unlocked because people go in and out to eat or to walk around the parking lot or whatever, and that door's just sitting open. There's, if God forbid there is an active shooter and they say, oh, the person's, walking down Snow King, you can just hit a button and lock all the doors and nobody can get in to the building.
So it's just good sense.
It's good, yeah, and other county buildings already use this similar system to get in.
And we do already have some of these systems in place. It's just that they're all kind of individual standalone systems, like the staff entrance door just down the street here is just its own battery operated, there's a keypad to get in. There's another keypad to get from the main library into the employee area. And that is all just standalone battery operated, like they don't talk to each other, and we have no global way of talking to the doors short of somebody going there and, changing batteries and reprogramming it. So this will just give us an umbrella control for the existing systems and some improvements and additions to the rest of the line.
Maybe wrong, I'm not sure. The doors would automatically lock at 7 o'clock when the library is closing, or unlock at 9 o'clock, and we wouldn't have to have staff,
Walk around and check every door, and
Yeah,
it makes total sense.
yeah.
And with a lot of computerized systems, there's layers and layers of controls that and there's gonna be a lot of bells and whistles in the software for this system that, we might use 20% of it, or we might use 80% of it, but it just gives us a lot of control over who when we let them in and monitoring.
So will there be a specific plan developed in programming of the system for certain safety situations?
Yes,
I believe that when the time comes, if that ever gets, the details of that ever get discussed or shared with the board, that can be done in executive session. There's no point in having what happens in such a situation on a recorded public meeting that anyone can access.
sure.
I mean, I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it could be, depending on how you know, detailed. So, but it is one of the exceptions that allows an executive session.
Yeah, there'll be different levels of the even administrator level of, there'll be a small number of people who could access the program and make changes, and then there'll be different levels of security control that, employees will have. Like, for the most part, most employees are just gonna get a PIN number assigned to them, and like, this is your number to get into the library, and you're we'll have a list of who's accessing the library.
And because this is external, it's not gonna affect the space planning study, which is all sort of internal. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from Zoom land? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion again. I move that the board authorize an expenditure of $31,939.70 from capital reserve funds for the installation of an access control system at the Jackson facility as presented in the staff reports.
And is that correct? It's just Jackson for this one too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone would like to second that motion?
Second.
Thanks, Stan. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, great. All right, we have a few more things on the agenda. So moving on to holiday hours.
So this year, Christmas and New Year's Eve fall on a Tuesday. Christmas Eve is included in the county's policy, HR policy manual. That if it falls Monday through Thursday, staff get 4 hours of holiday leave. Leadership team would like to propose that the library just close the entire day on Christmas Eve. So staff have some options. They'll all receive the 4 hours of holiday leave. They can then either use vacation or wellness leave or vacation or, well, those two options, or they can choose to work in the building for 4 hours in a closed building, work on projects
Okay,
and such, so that if they don't have 4 hours vacation leave to use, and they want to work.
okay,
But we would propose that we be closed the entire day.
okay.
It will be quiet and
Mhm.
the people will be expecting us to be here anyway.
Great.
And then New Year's Eve, we would normally be open until 7 p.m. We're proposing to just shift everybody's schedule so that everybody works a 9 to 5 day that day. And
On
the library closes at 5 on New Year's Eve.
Okay. Anybody have questions about that? Seems really reasonable. Well, I'll make the motion to set Teton County Library hours for Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve as presented in KIP's staff report. Do I have a second?
I second.
Vicky, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
We have a couple of November holidays coming up. Just a reminder that Thanksgiving Wednesday, the board voted last year that we would always close at 5 instead of 7 or whatever our closing hours would be. So we will be closing at 5 on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And we will be closed Monday, November 11th for Veterans Day.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks for those reminders.
And our meeting's on the 14th. And is that that's a regular board meeting? Oh, yeah, November.
Yeah,
We're gonna
November's
see-
regular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, looks like,
Maybe zoom in picture.
thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
So we have a staff report about the county policy manual.
This is the policy committee, proposed some changes, that were minor that came together rather quickly, and I don't really know why they wanted these approved so soon, but, they took them to the commissioners. Commissioners adopted those changes, and I believe the new policy manual was effective. Was it October 1st? Do you know?
I didn't know anything about this.
No?
Must be very minor. Maybe.
They're mostly minor. Christmas Eve was actually modified, so that's one of the ones.
Okay,
You did this back in January, adopted the new policy manual with the exceptions of the 4 policies, I believe, that the library chooses not to adhere to because we have our own policies. And so we have a version 2 of the 2024 policy manual for you to adopt
okay, great.
With no exceptions.
with the same exceptions. Yeah, the
Okay, the
motion,
same exceptions for the original.
yes, yeah.
Okay,
And I think the motion states that.
okay. Anybody have questions about that?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion then?
I move to, what do you call it? Approve the changes to the, manual.
Actually, we're adopting. or
Adopting, yeah.
We're approving a resolution.
There is. you
Yeah.
needed something.
Yeah.
Do you have the motion in front of you, Vicky? Would you mind reading it? If you don't, maybe somebody else could read it.
Yes, let somebody else do it because it'll take me forever to find it.
No problem.
Let's see. Oh, no, it's easy. The suggested motion. I move to approve the resolution adopting the 2024 July version Teton County Policy Manual, except for those policies as set forth in the presented resolution. That's the motion. Did you
Yes.
want me to read the resolution?
We've never read it before, so.
Okay.
I will, maybe I'll point out the 4 policies, just so we have it. up.
Sure.
We do not follow the bulletin boards policy, the panic alarms policy, public comment period policy, or social media policy. Those are the 4 that are exempted.
Okay, thanks. Well, I second the motion. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right, we have one additional matter before vouchers. And I think that's just an announcement that Kip and I and whoever else wants to attend will be at the Board of County Commissioners meeting on October 28th at 9 a.m. for our routine quarterly report.
Seemingly more often than.
There all the time.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh,
So if
yeah.
anyone wants to come and we'll have coffee after or something. Kip, do you have anything else to add to that? Okay, and then we heard from Christy and that was great. So really we can move on to the vouchers.
Well, should we have a short conversation about how we would like to proceed?
Oh, sure.
With this Virginian housing development? Peg suggested, and I thought it was a good idea, that we invite Christy and April to come and talk to us a little bit about. And do you have any input for us, Abigail, on our role as a board and what we can and shouldn't do and how that works in this weird body that we are?
I think for now, the next step, since everyone's interested in that and it was offered, and I think it could be quite constructive, is the workshop idea. Which would be very similar essentially to what happened today, a little more formal, a lot more materials. Perhaps any, issues that are raised by an individual board member, that two other board members might say, yeah, I also have that concern. They might have a, more constructive or, response, well, here's why, sort of similar to the access, like with the access is an issue, we might not be able to do that because of the federal funding on Fern's Meadows. And then after that, I'd forgotten, I think, because this is all affordable. I'd forgotten the new, Peg might be able to weigh in or someone else, under the town regs now that I haven't dealt with them in so long, there is no planning commission or town council anymore, it goes straight to building. Which when I found that out as someone who lives in downtown Jackson and stuff's going on all around me, I was like, serious? And so that actually makes it important that you guys have jumped in now. Because I kept thinking, oh, well, we'll go in front of the town council or whatever, but I don't think that happens, it goes straight to building permit. I'll check on that, so then after that workshop, if there's something that perhaps the board doesn't feel
Hey,
got, enough attention and you want to really, as a board, do something, formal, then I think it'd just be a question of
oh, baby,
making sure that, the discussion in a board meeting, consensus, and then draft a letter, decide what your approach is gonna be. To have that position that if there is consensus on as a board, and then how you're going to deliver that, in what format.
So
Whether,
have the workshop. And
yeah, and then
have a
decide
discussion.
whether you
Yeah.
feel the need to go
Okay.
for it,
That
right?
makes sense to me.
I think is the best. Now, I mean, there's some people, trying to think, I think in some of the board training that think, that, a board, if there's any, I don't think this will happen. Like if, say there was a board takes a position on something and there's a member of the board who disagrees, right? Let's cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't really see it.
I mean, all we need is a quorum, right?
Right, exactly.
Well,
But
some people
also
could disagree.
the idea is if that person wants to go speak for themselves,
Oh,
they're
sure.
speaking for a board. And some people actually discourage that. You can tell anyone they can't, like
Sure.
First Amendment, but there are some people who think that that's a poor practice for board members. There are others who actually think, is useful to have dissenting voices. This is also a little different because hypothetically, if there were any agreement on a board position on what's happening across the street, it's not about what's happening here, right? Within the confines of the library management operations, you're commenting as a board, but on what's happening over there. So
Right.
to me, it's a little more,
Yeah.
relaxed. If there were a dissenting voice, I don't think you're gonna have a dissenting voice, So I think the workshop, and then we'll see what further steps, you might wanna take.
So Kip, will you try to work out possible dates?
Yeah.
And I would love it if Peg could especially attend,
Yeah.
with her expertise, but,
Is it necessary at this point that we have a vote of the board to proceed and explore this? I mean, is this do we think that this advocacy on behalf of the board is important? Do we all agree as a board that this is something we should do? Do we?
I think I think a motion and a second to vote on proceeding in that
I
fashion.
mean, it's true,
Is
because
appropriate.
it is external in a lot of ways to the library, although there's an impact, so.
But what your goal is to speak for the library, right? So I think a formal motion, even just saying, that, we do wanna have this workshop, presented to the board and be able to weigh in. You as the board have decided that this is appropriate and you're gonna do this, right? So, then you can, if it didn't have to be on, it kind of was on the agenda in a way.
Yeah.
With Christie here, you can just do the motion right now, it just makes it clear in the record in the minutes that you as a board decided that you were going to at least take that next step of having a workshop to dig into the project a bit more. So you as a board could make sure that the library's interests are, raised.
Okay. Do you want me to try to do that, Mary Lee?
Yeah, you got
Alright. All right, I move. This is I move to propose.
Yeah, I know, I moved to direct Kip to arrange a special workshop
Okay, great.
and
I,
add some fun stuff.
okay, I move to direct Kip to set up a special workshop with the housing department. To,
help the board better understand the Virginian Lane Housing Trust Project for the coming years.
and its potential impacts to the library.
Yeah, it's not a housing trust project, just say housing department.
Housing department. Do I have a second?
Second,
I second.
Thanks. Any discussion?
I have one thing. I do think that, I'm not sure, Abigail, how to do this. I'd like to figure out how to just have a pulse. I think it would be pretty simple, on a list of maybe 5 items that are of importance so that it's a focused workshop. I think it's okay to have Q&A, that the county's done a pretty good job in the town about having those. So I think we should be focused on the key issues. And so that it, like I say, it's focused on behalf of the library and not as public, as the public, general public as a whole. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree. And would you want Kip to share those handful of items? I mean, I think we gave them to Christy, but maybe when you set it up, just to be clear, she doesn't need to start from scratch, or I mean, we
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
we really want to focus our time, as efficiently and effectively as
I
possible.
actually would volunteer to do that too, after attending the meeting on Monday and hearing her answer some of my questions, that I do kind of see this handful of questions. And I could put that together and send it to everyone on the board. Peggy could give her
No,
input.
we can't, that we have to do it in public meeting. You can't do the email correspondence
Oh,
outside of.
no, not outside of the
Yeah.
meeting, so it can't even be
Yeah.
on our email
No.
correspondence. Oh. Okay.
Because you're making a decision about something sensitive as a board, it needs to be in a public meeting or with notice of, the big issue is notice, right? So, it's why I was sort of cautioning you guys in the exchange about today, to make sure that everyone sort of had their ideas of questions they wanted to ask, but not have the discussion about the questions that we're gonna be asked in the email chain, because that creates a public meeting that has not been noticed and therefore violates public records, like meetings act. So you kind of, need probably to give.
So either Mary Lee could draft it and share it with Kip, or Kip could do this himself.
So does the workshop need to be, open to the public as well?
Yes,
Yes.
it'll be a board meeting,
It'll be
so
a board
actually, it wasn't clear in the motion, which is fine, the workshop will be a public meeting, you'll have to have either at your if it can happen in your November meeting, or it will have to be a special meeting specifically for the workshop.
How about if the board meets a half an hour before we have the housing, what's it called?
Housing department.
Or come, and in that half hour before, we as a board, come up with the 5 areas of concern that we would like, that we would ask to be specifically addressed. Is that what you're thinking, Peg? Something along that line?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I mean, but don't we know from today what those areas are?
Well, I think that the difference is, it's not we could get an overview of the whole project. There are a lot of issues with this project. Some of them are financial, some of them are, unit livability. So I think we can I'm just trying to make it a focused effort, just specific to library concerns, as opposed to just an open house workshop.
Can we do it as an executive session?
I think we would,
I think that was pretty clear to Christie, they're not gonna come in and talk to you guys about the financing.
No.
Right? I mean, they know that. And so I think, it's enough that, you're telling Kip right now that, the purpose of the workshop is things that would concern the library, which would largely be design, parking, transportation.
Those are the three things.
Right, I mean, they know. The housing department knows best what your concerns are gonna be, and certainly. I don't think you need to tailor it any more than everyone already understands the goal right now.
I think it's.
Yeah. I agree. I think, Peg, some of the, more, technical questions that we have, we can get to after the workshop.
Right.
As
It's
a
a
board.
workshop, so to the extent that if one of you thinks of something that you want addressed, email Kip. And just tell Kip to tell them, I want this addressed, right? Because the whole nature of a workshop is back and forth and you don't know where you're gonna go, right? And then if you're not satisfied, I guess, with the answers that you might get, or when you're watching it go forward, and something you raised in the workshop, and it was clear that there was consensus, like if we need to have a formal vote or send a formal letter, then, on a particular item, we can tackle that afterwards. I don't think we have to, narrow it too much, other than just making it, Kim can make clear to them, you don't care about things like financing. Because you don't know yet, part of it, you don't want to limit it too much, because there might be things that you don't know that would be a concern for you yet, right?
Yeah.
And if you shut it down by saying only talk about these three things, those things would never come up in the workshop. Does that make sense?
I do have another question.
Okay,
So then looking forward, we have the workshop. And then we want to send a formal letter. So how do we do that in a public?
So I think after the workshop, either right afterwards, when they're done, if you have a discussion and the board says, okay, based on all of that. You each bring up, I'm still really worried, and I want to emphasize formally, the library wants to make sure this is, either paid attention to, or maybe it might be a specific thing, or we really want the town to change, the ordinance where they can do 3-hour parking. If there's consensus on the board about those things, then you can decide to write a letter to, we'll decide who it goes to. Probably, since there's no formal meeting, I think it probably might want to go to not just the housing department at that point, but to the town and the county, who will be approving. We gotta look at the timeline on the development agreement, or whenever it's gonna be solid, the proposal, right? And then, you direct a letter to be written with the following things, and then it can go. There might be some timeline there, you might have to have, depending on how it goes, like, so in that meeting, you decide what the things are, you decide the general content of the letter and the message you want to send as a board in writing. Someone takes on writing it, which could be a board member, frequently is for the commissioners. A lot of times they might have staff write it, but sometimes like Natalie will write it. Because they know better what they really want to say. And then, we might, but at that point, typically, historic preservation sometimes just says, Michael Stern, go write the letter, what we wanted to say, and they give him the authority to write it the way it was discussed without coming back to have a final review. In this case, I think you probably do want a final review, which might mean, once it's drafted, having a special meeting real quick on Zoom to just approve the final form and have it sent. And I say special meeting because you're not gonna wanna wait till your next regular meeting,
No.
right? You're gonna wanna do it pretty soon. And this special workshop, depending on, could either be in the November meeting, it could be earlier at a special meeting. Just to have this, but it will be noticed in a public meeting, anyone who wanted to come in, because, could do so.
and how
You don't have to have.
How much
public-
notice?
You don't necessarily have to have public comment at a special meeting, so, special meetings is 8 hours notice.
Oh, right.
So it can, and you're limited, the other rule on special meetings is you can't talk about anything else except. So if you notice a special meeting to have a workshop with housing department about the verge. And someone says, hey, I want to talk about Harry Potter, like, you can't do it, right? Okay.
Okay, okay,
Do it on Zoom, it can just be
okay,
in-person only meeting with.
okay.
Worried.
Should I reword this motion? Just
Can we
simplify
get
it?
it read back?
Yeah, I moved to direct Kip to set up a special workshop with the housing department to help the board better understand the Virginia Lane Housing Department and its potential impacts to the library.
I think
I think that sounds good.
Okay, I do.
Then after the workshop,
Right.
you're gonna meet as a board probably right afterwards and decide what your issues are and how you want them, that messaging to happen. Who, what, when, how, right?
Okay, that sounds good. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thanks, Vicky. Any more discussion?
I just would like to say that I would like us to move as quickly as possible. I'm just engaged in another public matter where, you know, we are at the point where the plans are 90% and now all this opposition is coming forward. And it's so frustrating because
Yeah.
we have been meeting for literally 6 years on this.
Welcome to my
And-
room.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't want to be that. We don't want to be those people. So I urge us to move as quickly as we can.
Okay, agreed. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Looks like we might have lost Stan. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Are folks available the week of the 28th?
Make sure the vote shows that Stan didn't vote, so it's not being, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let me
We
just.
lost Stan.
The week of, sorry,
October 28th,
October
that's
28th.
the earliest I could make something. Anytime that week or later.
I am totally open.
I'm not here on Friday, but I'm open Monday through Thursday.
Peg, are you
Okay.
back?
Yeah, 28th, the week is good.
Okay,
Vicky?
It's good for me.
okay. I'll check on Stan, but I'll look with that week, maybe.
Okay, great. All right, I think the last thing on our agenda, and thanks for everybody sticking with us, is the payment of library vouchers. And I can't remember who signed them this week.
Ooh, and what was the amount?
The
Okay.
amount is
I sign them and I'll make the motion unless there's some discussion. I move to approve the payment of library vouchers in the amount of $82,290.72.
And I second.
Thank you both. Any discussion, questions?
Peg.
Yes.
The question about the $100 charge on Eva's credit card,
Mm-hmm.
I did get the receipt and
Great.
we have voucher created, so thanks for
Perfect.
catching that, and
Perfect.
it's all taken care of and added in here.
Great, thank you so much.
Impressive.
Great. All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks so much, Peg. And I think that's it, unless folks have anything else. I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in
Second,
favor?
third.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
All right,
good
have a
one.
great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.